in town, and
But
so he lives in Colorado now, and he's driving back to Michigan, and so he and his buddy stopped by, and so I'm making Thanksgiving dinner tonight. So
okay, wow.
yeah,
Nice.
so pretty fun.
Yeah,
So
turkey on the grill sounds amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've done it for I think the last 3 or 4 years.
Oh,
It's the grill is really like throwing in. It's like the oven, you know. I
oven,
mean,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not really all that spectacularly hard. It's just
Yeah.
the mind shift that you have from going from oven to grill. People go, oh,
Right,
you know.
right.
So yeah, but I'm in my opinion, a smoked turkey tastes better than oven turkey. So in my
I
opinion,
bet it
so
does. Yeah.
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 So
Cool.
I put a bunch of butter and I chopped up a bunch of fresh herbs, put in some butter, slathered the whole turkey with butter, and stuffed some butter underneath the skin. Although this turkey, like, I couldn't get underneath the fascia very well. It was really weird. It was really sticky. So I
Huh.
couldn't get the skin, because usually I can get my fingers up in the turkey breast and lift up
Right.
the
Yeah.
skin enough. I couldn't pry that stuff up for anything, and I didn't want to tear the skin. So but anyways, this isn't
Oh.
Sean's cooking show. This is the Rebuild Restoration Lab. So
Oh, yeah, right.
although we could make it Sean's cooking show, so
We could, yeah, I know.
yeah. So yeah, that it's I'm excited. Well, it'll probably when we get done with the call, I'll have to go take a look at it and see what it looks like and check the temp again. But it should be done probably, I'd say 6ish. So yeah.
Okay,
So yeah.
cool.
So well, let's do this. Let's go through, just because we're recording it and someone at some point in time may come back at and watch. Um, let's go through really quick the movement screen for the pelvis, and then we can talk about your foot. How's that sound?
Okay. Yep, that sounds perfect.
So, for those in the future, if they've seen any of Gary's stuff, I've borrowed this from Gary Ward. So,
Okay.
this is his. Well, actually, and for one of the reasons we started doing this is because this will be part of our challenge, as well. It
Oh,
will be it will Gary. The beauty of Gary's check-ins, as he calls them, is that he wanted to be able to basically do a check-in in a phone booth. Like, he didn't want to have some elaborate, like, you have to have, all of this space and all of the rest of the things. And which makes it really convenient for this was actually some of the stuff I did during COVID when we were all shut down. And
mm,
I was seeing people online, and I actually ran a course for massage therapists to help them take their practice online during COVID. And so
huh,
the check-ins were part of that. And it was funny because Jerry and I were talking about it earlier today, because we're building out some of the stuff for the restoration challenge, or for the challenge. And I actually circled back around to a lot of that old material that I did during the COVID. I In like 6 weeks I taught 99 people. So this methodology, which some of it was Gary's, and then some of it was just stuff that I'd kind of pulled in from my own as well. But anyways, so this pelvis one is designed to assess the pelvis in 3 planes of motion, but we'll use really easy planes of motion, just so people that don't understand those things don't get overwhelmed. So when we look at the pelvis, uh, the first thing that we want to think about is how the pelvis moves in kind of forward and back motion. So the way I like to think about it is, your pelvis is a bucket, right? And we're going to pour water out of the bucket. So I tip my pelvis forward. Now, everybody thinks this is forward. This is not forward. Yes, I understand the bottom of my pelvis is shooting forward, but it's not. Again, if we kind of look at that bucket idea, we're going to look at tipping the bucket forward, which sticks your butt out a little bit, and then tipping the bucket backwards, which then pulls your tailbone underneath. So that would be forwards and backwards. And what we're really looking for here is tightness, uh, not as much range of motion, going one way other than the other. One of the things that Gary will talk about is it effortful or effortless? And which motion has more restriction than the other? And we're really just trying to get a gauge for what is happening with our pelvis. And then we have side to side. So we'll call this shift. Can your pelvis shift side to side, but also stay on plane? So what I have people do is I have them put their hands on their hips, or I have them against the wall, and then have them shift their pelvis from side to side. And more often than not, what I will see with people is the pelvis will rotate as we're doing this. So, if I'm here and I'm shifting, my pelvis might do this, or it might do this. And that would also indicate that your pelvis isn't moving well as we're walking and in general motions where you have to shift side to side. Next one is hike and drop. Again, in, uh, we're trying to make sure that our pelvis doesn't rotate as we're doing this motion. So I'm bending the knee and my pelvis would drop on the right, bending the knee and my pelvis drops on the left, right? And again, we're looking for how does this feel? Does it feel effortful or effortless? And I notice on my left side, my pelvis just doesn't want to come along as easy as it does on the right side, right? So, and we can talk a little bit more about that with your foot too, by the way. And then
Okay.
lastly, um, pelvis rotation. Does your pelvis rotate? How does it rotate? So, from the side again. So what should happen here is as my pelvis is rotating, and here's a tricky thing that a lot of people don't understand about their pelvis. Their pelvis should move interdependently. It should move independently and interdependently. So one side should move and the other side should move. In rotation, this is really true. And also in if we go back to the side to side plane, what often happens is that one side will be stuck and it won't move. And so, in an effort to get weight onto that foot, the one side of the pelvis will tilt forward, right? But where you
Mm.
should really see this at is in rotation. So when I rotate to my left, what should happen is my pelvis should do this. So if this is the bucket, what should happen is my pelvis should do this. One side should tip forward, the other side should stay back. Uh, this is, and Gary likes to use ing and ed, ing, shun, and ed. So ing and shun are movement. Ed is end range or hard stop, right? So, and that's really super important when we're starting to talk about actual motion itself. I'm trying to keep you out of the light, by the way. I'm not trying to blind you. So, so it's really important in actual motion itself. Are you rotating? Do you have rotation, or is it rotated? Right.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
those the ends of the word are super important. So again, we're just kind of looking for how does the pelvis interact with that rotation, right? So, and we should also not feel like we need to do weird hula hoop motions with our pelvis. And also our trunk, our rib cage should move, should stay still in this motion. And
Mhm.
oftentimes what happens with people is because they don't have this interdependent motion between the pelvis, rib cage, and skull. You'll start to see this stuff happening. Next week when we look at the rib cage, we'll see a lot of that when we start to rotate the trunk. Because what happens with people is they rotate their trunk and their head comes with them. They can't separate those two motions together.
Mm. Mhm.
So how we can kind of let's see if I go this way and I have the lights in back of me. Um, how we can kind of look at this in relation to your foot. So um, this is one of the cool things that I got from Gary. I got a lot of cool things from Gary, but this is definitely one of the cool things I got from Gary. So when we start to look at the pelvis, what the pelvis does, uh, what the foot does, the pelvis interacts with. So particularly your heels. So your heel and your pelvis tie right in together. Oftentimes, what will happen when I was in person and I was seeing people in person, I was doing foot mobs. Um, I would see let's say, a heel that maybe wouldn't like rotate side to side. Like, so if I have the forefoot and we're back of the foot, your heel should do this, it should do this, it should do this, right? And actually, it does have rotation to it as it starts to move. Like the rotation would be as I'm doing calf raises. A lot of people will do calf raises, but the heel doesn't actually rotate, right? So when you're doing calf raises, you should be trying to get those, you should be pushing up so the heel's actually rotating and they rotate back down again. So
Hmm.
oftentimes what will happen is that the heel will mimic the pelvis. So let's pretend, um, the easy one is let's pretend you don't like to shift or you don't like to come out to the side here. You'll either rotate around it or it's just stuck motion. So as you start to shift out to the side, what will happen is the heel, because your foot in theory should start to come along with you at some point in time. So if you watch
Hmm.
kind of the arch of my foot, like as I shift out to the side, you can kind of see how my arch picks up when I come back down. My arch will pick up, and as I come out, I come back down. So if the heel doesn't move like that, let me grab a light really quick. If the heel doesn't move like that, then what winds up happening is the arch won't lift. So I'm going to block my heel from rotating, and then the arch doesn't lift. Right? It lifts, but maybe not a lot. If I really block the heel, then it doesn't lift at all. And then what you start to see is, so I have shift, or some people will call this sway, right? So I have shift, and if I put the wedge underneath there, I have no more shift,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
So when we think about tipping the bucket, it's the same thing. So in theory, when I tip the bucket, this ties into my pronation mechanics. Hello there, Carell. This ties into her plantar fasciitis right away. So this ties into if the pelvis isn't moving, this ties into these pronation mechanics. Because funny enough, everybody talks about spinal flexion and this poor poor uh, uh, posture, position, or shape that her body takes. But the funny part about that is that when you're walking, in every phase of the gait or in every phase of locomotion except for one, you have a shape that mimics this most of the time. So as I'm coming forward, my pelvis is tucking underneath because it's all shock absorption until we get squarely onto the foot. And then as we get squarely onto the foot, this side of my pelvis, this side of my pelvis will start to tip forward, right? So as I'm coming forward here, this side of my pelvis starts to tip forward. This one stays up. So now your pelvis is doing this essentially, right?
Hmm.
So one of the things that we could talk about with your foot and kind of how it impacts up the chain, and then also and I found this a lot with plantar fasciitis when I was working with a lot of plantar fasciitis people. Their pelvis isn't moving fantastically in one of those movements, and so what winds up happening is uh, they're not actually getting onto the foot and loading the foot. Now, for you, you had remind me what your surgery was again.
Oh, I had a staph infection in my foot from a cortisone shot for plantar fasciitis.
Ha! How about that?
Ha ha. Never had plantar fasciitis since,
Yeah.
but but anyway, so they had to cut open the foot and pump me with IV antibiotics to clean it out and
Uh
then
huh.
sew me back up.
How long ago was that?
That was in 1988.
Okay. And then, what do you feel like your foot doesn't do?
It um I don't have good side to side motion with it.
So, yeah. So for people that don't really understand the mechanics of the foot that well, let's talk about that for a
Eversion,
second.
inversion, and eversion, that whole
Yeah.
thing. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we can break the foot into like two pieces. Uh, the rear foot and then the forefoot. So the forefoot is in front of the heel. The rear foot is in back of the heel. And I wish I had lefty that Marsha has. I got to buy one because we'd look at that more and you kind of see how that plays out. But there's bones in the foot that take in that take the that kind of make that distinction necessary. And so the heel, if we look at the heel like my fist, again, the heel does this, it does this, it does this, and then it does this, right? And then there's some rotation to it. As it starts to come up, it starts to do stuff. Well, as it starts to come up, it does stuff like this, and then as it drops, it does stuff like this, right? So the forefoot is obviously in front of the heel, right? And so the thing that we want to think about that is that with that we were talking about the inversion and eversion, right? Or inversion, eversion, right?
Yep.
Well, when I make a time machine, there's a couple things that we're going to go back and do. One of them is we're going to go back and we're going to clean up some of this garbage with terminology. Why is this in and why is this
I
e?
know, right?
But I'm going back and I'm changing it, Sonia. So just so everybody knows, and I'm also changing the planes of motion, changing that one too. Why is when I go this way with my pelvis, or why is it when I'm moving this way frontal plane, right? Why is this way not frontal plane? But
Mhm.
anyways, that'll be another time that we'll talk about my time machine and when I'm going to go back and change some very necessary things here. So, anyways, so your foot doesn't do this well, correct?
Yeah, no. In fact, it's kind of stuck
It's stuck here or
in one.
inversion.
Yeah, kind of
Yep.
stuck that way. Yeah.
So the way that I remember this is I had to really try hard to remember it in school. And I actually didn't remember it out of massage school. It took me a long time to remember the difference between eversion and inversion. But I always remember this one is this inversion is a more common sprain.
Yep.
So when you
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
when you hear people talk about sprains and they throw out around some technical jargon, this is an inversion sprain. And truth be told, of the sprains is the one that you want to have. You don't want an eversion sprain.
No.
It's pretty terrible,
Yeah.
right? Um, eversion sprains often come with knee things,
Mm. Mm.
right? So so the more that we kind of start to feel and get an understanding of like how the foot moves, the more we can start to maybe think about how it affects the rest of the body, and then going back to that movement assessment that we looked at in the pelvis as well. So being that your foot doesn't really do this, and if I remember correctly, most of the time you kind of feel like you're on an ice skate, right? Like you don't feel like you have good connection with the big
Right.
toe knuckle and the pinky toe knuckle, right?
Right. Yep. And
Yeah.
the middle two toes are like hammer toe.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So hammer toe happens when so uh this is, by the way, this is how Carell got introduced to me, by the way, Sonia. I was on another mentorship that we're in, and it was a business, it's a real estate uh group. And my buddy Nathaniel, um he had me on because he has this health as wealth podcast, or in the group, or a class in the group. And so she got introduced to me with a foot, and had no experience or exposure to me whatsoever. And so I started talking about the foot, and I'm like, hey, look, we're probably gonna look at my feet, right? And so in the middle of it, I set my laptop down and I put my foot around the ground. She's like, oh, he's really serious about that. I'm like, oh, you have no idea, sister. You have no idea, right? So um so when we kind of look at the foot and the hammer toe, right? This happens because when we get into that pronation, or when that big arch drops, as we get into that pronation, and as we're coming through this motion in the gait cycle, your toes will grip they will grip the ground just a little bit, so you can get into that lift off phase of the gait.
Mm.
If we're not getting into pronation, what winds up happening is oftentimes the second toe and the third toe will start to get that hammer toe going on, because they're now acting like the big toe. They're trying to slow us down and give us some stability there,
Oh.
right?
Huh.
So and when we're like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm over exaggerating how your foot feels on the ground. Instead of having that through those 3 points of contact, 3 points of contact there being here, here, and here,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you don't have that foot on the ground like that, what winds up, or the big toe knuckle on the ground, and you feel like your foot is on that outside or it's inverting all the time, what winds up happening there is, then because the big toe knuckle doesn't have as much contact, then these guys here will start to grip,
Ah. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Now, in the conversation of plantar fasciitis, um, the thing with that is, again, most of the time people will be in shoes that kind of take them away from that pronation, or that arch. And so when I do this, you can actually see, like, if we look at the tissue here, when I start to do this, you can see all that stuff shorten,
Yep.
right? We go from kind of smooth skin, looks like an elephant, right? So you get all those wrinkles in there. And then as I'm walking, you can actually, I'm going to do this on purpose, because look at what my toes do,
That's exactly what my foot does. That's
right?
exactly what it does.
Yeah. So, so yeah, and that will go up the connect, that will go up the chain to the knee, to the low back, and all of the
Yep.
rest of that stuff as well.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, you can track it all the way up to the skull, but that's a whole other can of worms that we don't necessarily need to address it right now, because it's a little bit more of a technical game. But so one of the ways that we assess that, and assess to where we feel like, how does the how could you assess that, or how could someone watching assess that, is when you're standing up, kind of feel where the weight on your feet is. Do you feel more weight on the inside of your foot or the outside of your foot? Do you feel more weight on your left foot or your right foot? Do you feel more weight on the front of your foot or the back of your foot? And then again, if we did that and we started to look at those pelvis motions, then we could start to cue in a little bit how the foot and the pelvis go hand in hand together. And then the poor knee just gets trapped in the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
So that's where
Yeah.
a lot of people have those knee injuries at as well. is because that poor foot gets the poor knee just is it's the middle child between the hip and the pelvis.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, just like kind of like your shoulder is the middle child between your neck and your hand, or your neck and your elbow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it takes all the shoulder takes all the brunt, just like your knee takes all the brunt oftentimes. So yeah, and the solutions for that, if I was to try to provide a solution for that hammer toe and trying to get off of that eversion, I'm sorry, inversion, or out on the kind of the blade of your foot, the blade of your, your foot there, I would start to look at taking, um, it doesn't have to be wedges. You could take uh, like a hand towel and wrap it up and put it underneath that big toe there, so it's making some contact, and then starting to come over, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to use a wedge because we can see it better. So again, if we pretend that your foot is here, right? And now when I try to go over that, what happens is that the ankle bones block all of that motion. So what I would want to do is I would want to find underneath in that front in that side to side plane here, that from the side plane, um, I'd want to find a place where I could feel like I had some good contact there. And then as I was getting into that contact, then it was allowing the bone to to feel like it has more support, and that'll start to open that, or it'll start to stretch that arch more and let that arch drop down into place. And then you could also potentially, so now when we think about this, and I block this guy here, sometimes when I block this guy here, my heel, because it's not used to coming along with us so much, because it's been stuck in this shape. What you may want to do as well is find again with a hand towel. I'm going to use the wedge because it's easier for everybody to see, but allow that foot to drop into that space more with that wedge, because then that's going to help it's going to help that heel to encourage that internal motion, or that in motion there. Yeah, I'm way over exaggerating it, but and you can see like naturally my foot likes, it will do this more than this. So we already kind of, if we had which one has more motion to it, this way is harder for my foot than this way, right? So when we get stuck here, my heel's going to get lazy. It's going to sit on the couch and eat Doritos and not want to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's some thoughts there for you, Sonia, on that, and kind of things that you might want to play with.
Mm-hmm.
And for both of you, actually, that's probably not a bad strategy to start to play with some stuff under, either a hand towel. I've got like some gardening gloves because I was raking the other day. But some gardening gloves underneath that in frontal plane, underneath that first met head, and see what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
And then in frontal plane, you might only need like just a little bit, underneath that heel before it starts to get that heel to move.
Okay.
So the terrible thing is that the the cure to the fix to your plantar fasciitis was the thing that we're trying to do right now, right? And then they gave you a cortisone shot for it, which then resulted in staph and wound up preventing you from getting into pronation and in that eversion.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah. So yeah, there's your foot, there's your pelvis. They go together hand in hand. And when you start to really kind of look at it, at first, at least when I started learning about these things going together, man, oh man, it hurt my brain quite a bit. you know. It was definitely tough for me to kind of envision both of those things going together. But I encourage you to after today and as you kind of go forward with some things, like just stand there and move your pelvis and see what happens when you start to move your pelvis around in relation to your feet.
Okay.
You might be
Yeah.
very, very, and do it barefoot. You might be very, very surprised that, oh my gosh, because case in point, when I uh when I rotate my pelvis, okay, so when I rotate my pelvis, so my pelvis is
So you,
rotating. As I rotate my pelvis, what should happen here is that my knee should extend a little bit, meaning go backwards. I'm not forcing my knee to go backwards. It goes backwards because as a result of my pelvis rotating. As my knee goes backwards, you can see how my knee goes backwards a little bit, yeah?
yep.
As my knee goes backwards,
And the
what
other
will end
knee.
up happening is that my arch will lift here, right? And then as I rotate here, what will happen is that my knee comes forward and there's a slight bend in it, just a little bit, right? As I'm rotating my pelvis. And then what should happen there is as my pelvis rotates, as my knee bends a little bit, that arch should drop as well. So the weight should go as I rotate out, I should feel more contact with the outside of my foot. As I rotate in, I should feel more contact with the inside of my foot. And conversely, I should feel more contact with the outside of my foot on the other side,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
as I'm rotating, I want to pay attention to what my pelvis is doing and what my feet are doing. And that may give you some clues as to why when your foot is not moving well, we have low back pain.
Right.
I had I'll leave you guys with one funny story. So I had this client and his mom came in to see me, and his mom was in her 80s, and she was having this terrible low back pain, sciatic nerve pain, and oh my gosh, she was the spunkiest lady. Holy bananas, was she something? Like she was 80, but all of like 10, right? Like she was the funniest thing. And so she came in and we started to assess her pelvis movement. She literally couldn't rotate her pelvis going to the right. And we got her pelvis rotating to the right, sciatic nerve pain gone. She had it for like, I don't know, 12 weeks. So I saw her two more sessions, I think two more sessions after that. And after the second session, she brought me in Bloody Mary mix. That was my tip, was Bloody Mary mix. Didn't matter if I drink Bloody Marys or not, because I don't, but that's what I was getting from her, you know? So but it was also her, not only just her rotating her pelvis, but getting her foot to come along with it as well,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Because her foot was so stuck,
Yep.
that whole limb was stuck. There
Yep.
was no shock absorption there. So then just basically the joint is just jamming into the
Yep.
socket. And also her low back is jamming in, right? So yeah, we got her pelvis to rotate and her foot to rotate, and she came in the next time. And I probably literally only spent maybe 15 minutes with her in the session because she was so all over the place telling me about all her things, right? And so the next time she came in, she walks in the door and she gave me this big hug, and I'm like, "Well, what's this for already?" She's like, "My my back feels great. It hasn't hurt since I saw you last time." I'm like, "Did you do your homework?" She's like, "Hell no." And I said, "Okay, well, let's continue to do this thing and we'll see what happens when I see you next week." She comes back in and she's, "I have something for you." I'm like, "Okay, did you do your homework?" She goes, "Hell no." And then she was fine. I never saw her again after that. So yeah.
That's great.
So yeah, that's how your pelvis goes along along with your uh along with your oh, it's not letting you come on and oh, all right.
I
Okay.
was That's why I was coming in and out. I figured it out after a
Yeah, yeah.
minute.
Did you have a question?
Um, Thank you for the talk of the plantar fasciitis. I'll probably have to come back in and see the recording. Yes, in regards to not my problem, but generally, perhaps a friend who ran so much they have no cartilage in their knees anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do they do? Is it just to strengthen the tendons or whatever around the knee and be good with it?
Yeah. So here's what we know now. We know now that cartilage can rebuild.
Okay.
And this is something that they didn't think about. And
Mhm.
so it's going to be getting into ranges of motion. So it's kind of a funny thing. Um, Nothing changes without some friction,
Okay.
right? In life, in general, right? You don't make changes in life without
Uh,
friction.
why we gotta make it a big life thing? But you're right. Like, why? But
And
okay.
so with the body, nothing changes, particularly with hard things like tendons, ligaments, those bones, these things. Nothing changes without some friction. So we need a little bit of stress in there. Now, the thing with your friend is that pain-free range of motion is the most important thing.
She
So,
specifically continues to try with
yeah.
her jogging, even though,
Oh, well, that's a runner for you.
yeah.
They're this close or this far on the sociopath end of the scale as far as their body goes. They're all freaking crazy because you can go to Walmart or not and go buy a
Mm.
pair of shoes and fling yourself down the road like you're in a Michael Jackson Thriller video and think that I'm making some progress. Have you looked at yourself run before? You look miserable. So many of these people, I've worked with I can't tell you how many runners I've worked with. I've worked with a ton of elite level, amateur level, marathon, triathlon, Ironman, 100 milers, like the whole group of psychos. Um, and I would call them all at that to their face, by the way. I'm not talking out of school here. So, but yeah, so the problem is that runners aren't strong also. And
Mm.
so what winds up happening is that uh, because they have this lack of strength and lack of range of motion, they have less available range of motion. And
Mm.
so what the best one of the best places they could probably start is backwards with a turned off treadmill.
She does walk backwards.
With the treadmill turned off.
No, no, she just walks in the neighborhood backwards.
Okay, then she needs to get some friction in there.
When you
She
say
needs to get
friction, you mean an inclination, an
yeah,
incline
like
on
an
a turned
incline
off?
or something
Okay,
that's going to give her some resistance.
okay. Yeah, I see that she put the treadmill down because, you can either have it up or
Yep.
down. When you
Yep.
have it down, you can use it. So it was set up. Yeah, I'll tell her.
Yeah. And these are also great topics to come join the community. This is what we talk about,
Yep,
Yep.
right?
I almost sent it to her, but she's probably not gonna do this, so
No.
I'm doing it for her. So
Yeah. Well, I
all
mean,
good.
at the end of the day, like again, I've worked with I mean really, really high level runners.
Yeah.
Um actually truth be told, my cousin, my Kate's my fourth cousin, but my cousin Kate runs track at Division II school down at Tampa, and
Nice.
I pretty much anything that goes on with her body, I write programming all around it. So
I love it. Yeah.
yeah, so but yeah, I mean, a
I'll
good place to
adjust.
start is backwards on the
Yeah.
treadmill for sure. You know,
Okay. I don't think we ever thought about backwards on the treadmill with the treadmill off, so
yeah, and
I'll let
also
her
by the
know.
way, that's a good place for your plantar fasciitis as well.
Okay. Okay. Backwards. I have an under desk, treadmill, which I
Hmm.
haven't really been using. Okay.
Yeah,
I consider it standing
if
desk. Yeah.
if it doesn't turn off, then what my suggestion would be is if you don't have access to a treadmill, um, my suggestion would be you got to get some friction in there, girl.
How about backwards riding on my Peloton?
Not the same thing. Yeah, not the
Okay,
same thing.
got
Uh,
it.
yeah, because it doesn't. One of the things that you're looking to do is you're looking to take that push off from the heel to the toe and then back to the knee, and it's just not the same. Uh, it's not the same when you're cycling backwards because you don't
Yeah.
actually get out in front of you very much,
Mm-mm.
right? You don't get into that what we call terminal knee extension, or we don't get into
No.
that straight knee. And I don't know what you would have to do on that Peloton to get that range of motion, but it probably wouldn't be a good idea. You
So
know?
I think you were basically saying hip circles. I'm gonna call it hip circles. I was doing
Yep.
hip circles earlier on my hyper vibe. Because that's what they gave me or told me to do when I bought it. And then I was doing the um what is it, calf raises. I can't
Yep.
quite do the tib raises or whatever there.
Yeah.
But yeah. To move the, I guess it does that pelvis thing that you were saying, maybe. I don't know. So I was working on it today
Yeah.
before I had this call. Yeah.
Yeah. The tib raises will be super helpful as well. In the beginning, if you struggle with the tib raises, here's your other regression to that. Like just sit on the floor, point those suckers, pull those suckers up nice and hard, point those
Okay.
suckers, pull them up nice and hard,
Yeah.
and start there.
I will, because my dog will love me down on the floor. He'll just be right here.
Yeah.
But okay.
And high, like we talked about on Nathaniel's call, like high repetition. Like,
It was not. I have not been doing high repetition. I have been ill, so
yeah.
I was just supposed to just not do anything, and I
Yep.
did the not do anything, and this has been about a week, and I think
Yep.
I'm supposed to not do anything for 2 weeks. So the first thing I tried today was these little hip circles
Sure.
on
Sure.
the hyper vibe, which I don't
Yeah.
want to like hurt myself, so I don't know.
Sure.
But yeah,
Cool. Well, I'm glad you got a chance to come on.
me too.
Now it's just not me and Sonia. Now we have two.
Yeah. Yay.
So, and also to be I'm trying to grow the community, and you'll see
I
like in
saw it.
December
Yeah.
we're gonna grow the community. We're gonna start growing the community for serious.
Yeah.
So if you know people that are having problems, like your friend with a foot, we're gonna do a 5-day challenge in December, starting 1st of December. It's a great place, great time to get them in and kind of learn more about their body, how their body moves. So
I
if you
will
have
send
anybody like that,
them the information. My friend is not an apps person, so it probably won't happen. But I'll share it with my brother
yeah,
as
cool,
well.
cool.
Yep, yep.
All right. Well, glad to see you
Right.
both. Next week we'll do it again. Yeah, because it's Tuesday, it's not Wednesday. So, because next Thursday's Thanksgiving. So,
Right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So cool, cool. All right. Well, I will hopefully see you both next week.
Okay.
Do me a favor. Put something in the comments of something that you pulled away from this. It
Okay.
helps to get everything happening out on the things that need to happen. So
Okay.
cool. All right. Well,
All right.
thanks,
I
ladies.
just
Thanks,
took a
John.
Talk to you guys soon.
picture.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye.